everyone on this planet has entity attachments to some degree or another. Just some people have more than others, and some people have more extreme attachments than others. It depends on the level of trauma someone's had in their life, maybe abuse, physical, sexual abuse. They tend to be very heavily infiltrated with entities. When they suffered abuse, let's say out of their center, almost disassociated. And when you're in a disassociated state, that's when the heavier entity attachments can come in. The people that have suffered great abuse tend to be the people that were always going to be more targeted anyway, because those people represent a threat to the matrix. The entity working through the quote-unquote human is the one doing the abuse, the rape, all that kind of stuff. But left unchecked, these people would be really powerful. If you've had a tough life in that respect, it is at least partly down to the targeting of the matrix itself. And the fact that, let's say that your flag was raised probably before you were born, before you even come out, and you were pinpointed as someone that needed a good amount of targeted. Otherwise, left unchecked, you would represent a threat. Maybe you would go on and spread information. They need to be hijacked. Otherwise, them just being them and being happy in the world means that there's less food for these entities. There's something about you that is a threat to them, and they can see future timelines. They know what we're about. So for all those people that have suffered, targeted individuals, sensitive people, empathic people that have been bullied, abused, and whatnot, just know that there's something about you that is incredibly strong, powerful, and work through the layers of what is holding you back from being who you are supposed to be. And I know that this matrix doesn't want me to realize my potential, because I know if I realize my potential, then I'm going to damage the matrix. And this is the same for all of us. And the more of us that do the work, then the more likely we're going to escape this completely. I want to bring down this matrix on the way out, or at least help bring down. That's what we're here to do. And this is the reason why so many of us have had very difficult lives and kind of been attacked a lot through our lives. So no one is not included in this, not even me. And I obviously do this work clearing this stuff day in, day out. And actually I'm very targeted just purely by what I'm speaking about. But that's a whole other subject, some of the stuff that's happened to me. Society is completely set up to open us up to more entity attachments. When you look around, what do you see? You see things like alcohol, drugs, pharmaceuticals. You see all these mind-bending, mind-altering substances that people form addictions to, and we have normalized in society, when in actual fact, the even darker side to them is that these things open us up. And I've made numerous videos on things like alcohol. When you drink alcohol, it's called spirits for a reason. When you consume those things, you are literally opening the door to your energy and saying, come in, welcome, welcome, take some of my energy. Alcoholics in particular have very severe or very heavy entity attachments, as you would expect. And what I've noticed, interestingly enough, and there's a whole array of different entities out there, but there seems to be certain entities that are attracted to certain people. So what I've found with things like alcohol and drug addicts, ex-drug addicts, ex-alcoholics, particularly cocaine, demonic entities attached to these people have taken a lot of plant medicine. There seems to be a lot of serpent energy, like snaky energy, spider entities, learning which entities like which habit, basically. A lot of dragon entities. But a lot of people, they want to carry on what they're doing and still not have the problems. But unfortunately, it doesn't really work like that. So the weird and horrific things that you see in horror films are actually entities. So, for example, down the years, I've worked on people, and I've seen things like the character in the Saw movie, and other such like gremlins. I've seen gremlin-looking things. So the stuff that is in Hollywood movies, in horror films, a lot of it actually exists. I mean, I know that sounds horrific, but really they look scary, but they're actually not that. They're not as powerful as they like to let on. But that's an interesting point. The other ways that they can get in is through our unhealed wounds. And this is a big one. They use those against us all the time. They hook into our unhealed wounds, turn the volume up, they get in on our trigger points, and they will cause chaos with that. If I'm out of my center or I get triggered a little bit, suddenly I can feel a little bit of heaviness on me, and I can feel that they've come in on something that I've got triggered over. So this is why, I mean, there's so many reasons why we should be doing inner work. One of the main reasons is that we can plug the holes on the subconscious that allows these entities to come in. Like the cocaine entity, when I see the cocaine entity, it's got very like pointy nose with like black eyes. They all have their own entity, exactly that. And actually alcohol itself has entities within it. So when you're drinking alcohol, you're often drinking entities. 8 years ago, I took some acid on the beach in Cambodia with my friend, and we were obviously having a trip. And we went for a walk along the beach, and we walked past this bar, this beach bar, and at the back there were bottles of alcohol hanging up, like, you know, like the vodka and the gin, and of course my mind was bending like anything. And I looked at these bottles of alcohol, and there were faces in the alcohol. So I was looking at this bottle of vodka and this bottle of gin, and there was faces like looking at me within the bottle. And this is before I knew what I knew now. I knew what I know now. So that's really confirmation of what I'm talking about. They actually exist in these in alcohol themselves. Also things like crystals as well. You know, there's a lot of, particularly in the New Age, and I'm not saying that crystals are bad, but there's a lot of, if you don't clear your crystals regularly, they will become infiltrated with entities as well. So it's really important that you do that. Obviously, you don't want to be putting it under the moon. When you look at children, they have a very strong essence. This is why entities are drawn to children. We lose that essence through the traumas that we go through, like bullying at school or unconscious parenting, or then they whisk the baby off to an incubator, like in the moments that they're supposed to bond. And so the modern day birthing causes a lot of trauma for the baby. So we're being born straight into this evil way that they've said that women have to give birth, which is completely unnatural. Even things like that can cause trauma, can cause a fracturing of that essence. And as we become more and more fragmented in our lives, we become sort of more disconnected from that essence, and we become more open to infiltration as well, and we become more triggered and everything like that. And so they will use those against us. I want to become as sovereign as possible. I want to become as whole as possible and as clear as possible, because I want to give myself the best chance of getting out of here. So, and really, life just becomes a lot more bearable, because the things that you used to get triggered by, you don't get triggered by them anymore. And you become like a ship in the storm. So there's so many benefits for doing it. They will use false light beings, is another one. So angels, ascended masters, Galactic Federation, Arcturians, Pleiadians, basically hooking into people by deception, by people's ignorance, and not really understanding what these things are actually doing and what they actually are. Physical aliens, I don't believe in. I think the craft that we see, I think interdimensionally, craft can come in and out, but I don't actually think that there's physical aliens. And when you look at the word aliens, it has the word lie in it. But certainly, interdimensionally speaking, there are entities that appear at least as aliens. Whether that is their natural form, who knows? Probably they are masquerading, because a lot of people out there like aliens. They think that aliens are here to save us. They think that there are ships circling around the planet ready to land at any time soon. And so these entities will cloak themselves as Pleiadians or Arcturians to manipulate and trick people. When you connect with any of these beings, you are basically contractually giving your energy up to them. Even if you do something like watch a YouTube video, connect with Archangel Michael, that is enough to draw that entity into you, and that entity will just hook in and start siphoning off your energy. And so when you're working with a healer that's working with those energies, the entity is working through the healer onto the client, and then hooking into the client's energy field and siphoning off their energy and, you know, manipulating them and that kind of thing. A lot of healers out there don't really understand what they're working with. A lot of them are channeling. They feel like they're getting insights. It's a mess out there. I would say to be very discerning. Use your intuition, your discernment, feeling to that person's energy, and make the choice based on that. And if anyone really is telling you that they're working with anything other than their own energy, then I would personally take a wide berth. So this is why a lot of people come to me of months and years of seeing different quote unquote healers, and they are coming back with no energy and just in a right mess. Healers are so overtaken with false light energy. It's like something else is running the show. They're under a spell. Basically, they're under another spell. And it's very hard for them to break out of that spell, as we see. This stuff, it does go on, and it's very difficult to completely protect yourself. The other not so obvious way that they can get into us is through other people. Things like love bite relationships, where the entity is just working through a human, and there is a plan that's been set up in the astral to come in and try and mess with you through another human. And so often I hear the things like, oh, I was just about to start a business, or everything was just falling into place, or this was just about, and then this happened. So it's almost like they come in at sort of pivotal times, just when we're about to sort of, I was going to say ascend them, but that's probably the wrong word, but elevate to the next level. Dragons are some of the worst entities. They're really evil. And again, what do you see so much of in the New Age is connect with dragon energy. See, asking for help out there is in the astral realm is kind of, yeah, it's asking for trouble really, because as I've said in many videos, in the astral realm is pretty much just entities. And if it's not entities, it's entities masquerading as light beings. So they're still entities. What you'll find is when you start going to the levels of this matrix where the real truth is, you will get hijacked like you wouldn't believe. Before I got into like the metaphysical stuff, when I was banging on about how corrupt the government is and everything like that, nothing really happened to me, like in terms of astral issues. As soon as I started going into like the chakras being an overlay and sort of undercovering that rabbit hole, I started getting sleep paralysis, and I also had a really bad alien love bite relationship. Literally a few months before, it would have been about 6 months before I got on that path, that I met someone that nearly destroyed me. They don't want you going down that path. They want you to stay in your 9 to 5, to watch telly, and to not look at anything. If I have a client that I can't see for a couple of weeks, maybe I'm busy, they will get hit. They will get hit hard. I've had people tell me that I've turned up in dreams as like a devil, and they've had voices in the head telling them to cancel, and like all kinds of stuff. Can't pay me, the internet goes down, dramas happening at work, with the family, or it goes the other way, like suddenly there'll be like a massive job opportunity that they need to leave that day for, and so yeah, it's interesting how it works, and yeah, that's when you know that you're on the right path, is when you're getting hijacked a lot. And actually, if I'm not getting messed with, then I'm always questioning myself, am I on the right path here? So yeah, that's interesting. But with marijuana, and I don't really like it in the alternative media, because it's been promoted as this amazing, wonderful thing. When you're smoking it, you're opening yourself up to a lot of entity attachments. And people that smoke it a lot, I see like black goo on them, on their energy. It will open you up to entities the same way as anything else would. So the New Age movement has been set up. I've said it so many times, it's genius. The way they've set that fake version of spirituality, it's basically Luciferianism wrapped up in love and light and unicorn farts. Is Jerry Sargent still there? They will try and put you off anything that might be good for you. You're thinking about going for a walk in nature. They might say, well, it's cold outside, go tomorrow. Maybe you're going to work out. Oh, well, you know, maybe work out tomorrow because this is going on later. So they'll find reasons for you not to do something. Actually, interesting, the word exercise, what does that sound like? It sounds like exorcism, doesn't it? And for sure, there is definitely something in that, because I felt it myself. You know, naturally you feel better after a walk in nature, after you've had a swim. You just feel better in yourself. There is an exorcism that takes place somewhat. And when she went there, the therapist said to her, well, what you need to do is pretend that it didn't happen. That was their advice. So you got that kind of therapy, and then you got the New Age therapy, where just say that I'm worthy 100 times in the next half an hour, and you'll feel worthy. So there's a lot of bullshit out there. So make sure your therapy is effective. The 7 chakras are an artificial implant. That implant allows entities to infiltrate your energy field. But once they're removed, you still have your 3 natural vortexes, your Dantian points, which is one around the third eye, the heart, and the sacral. That's where your natural, I don't like the word, but chakras are. So we still have those vortexes. In actual fact, you know that we're in spiritual warfare because exorcisms have gone up like 50% in the last 2 years or something. And I know from my own work that people are getting a lot more messed with now as things start to ramp up. So.